you're just joining, I am Steph. I am the EP executive producer for Yogini TV, and I'm also one of the contributors for the Mastermind.Yoga Summit. That's actually, it just started today. And so I'm going to be going behind the scenes or having a behind the scenes conversation with one of the speakers, Jamila. So we're just going to wait for her to pop in and kind of let more people come into the room. So I don't typically get to do lives. I'm more of a behind the scenes type of, producer type, techie type. So, being in front of the cameras is very amusing to me. So we're going to see how this works. But again, Jamila, she is owner of Yogini Maat, which is a luxury hemp yoga mat company, and she also she does a lot of stuff. But she'll be talking at the summit this year to kind of talk about profit by affiliation. That is her topic of discussion. So we're going to get some jewels from her, some words of wisdom in terms of how to sustain a profitable wellness business, particularly in this space, particularly in this environment. Yes. I'm not sure where everybody is located geographically, but I'm here in LA, and I've literally been in the house since March. Yeah. So, and we just got feedback today that, we're adding more restrictions to the stay-at-home order that we were already on. So, this has really kind of flipped everybody's life, and we're kind of having to rediscover ways of engaging and rediscover ways of sustaining our individual business models. And so these are very, very good conversations to have because, it's an aggregation of people who are out there essentially doing that. They're sustaining. They're putting themselves in the heat, trying to figure things out, trying to get to a place of discovery and understand, like, how do we continue to provide the things that we do as yoga practitioners, as wellness practitioners? How do we keep doing that in this environment? So I see Yogini Maat is here. Yay. So I'm going to go ahead and bring her on. Let me see. Again, this is not something that I do often, or really not at boom. But I feel like she knows what to do. She do this process.
Hello.
Hello there.
How are you?
I'm
Let me
doing
get a block.
good. I'm doing good. I can't complain at all, honey. How are you?
Good. I'm doing well. Just enjoying this full moon lunar eclipse energy.
Oh, yes, indeed, honey. Like today, I spent time writing my list of things that I want to, just kind of let go. And, I'm one of those ones that I'll pull my crystals out and just have them charged up. And so I'm really feeling this energy that we have right now.
Yes, definitely. It's
so
important.
People just coming into the room now, slowly but surely. So I'll let people continue to pop in, but as they do, and I'm a waver, y'all. I'm like a corny type of person. Like I'm wave and hug, and especially since we can't do these things now.
So I can read.
Like,
yeah, I know.
Like my favorite emoji now, the wave. So hello, everyone joining. Yes.
Peace.
And I have here the lovely Jamila. She is the owner of Yogi Maat, and as I was saying earlier, that's a brand that produces luxury hemp yoga mats.
Yes.
But she does so much more. She's also the speaker, one of the speakers for this year's Mastermind.Yoga.
Yes.
It's the largest summit for people of color to date, and it's very exciting to be able to have an event such as this go on and create this opportunity for information exchange, particularly in an environment where life has kind of been flipped upside down. So
exactly.
In order to do her justice, because again, she does a lot. I wanted to pull some words from her website, pull a bio from her website because it's a beautiful capture of who she is. So her intention is to activate the magician in you. That's powerful.
Yeah.
So Jamila, she's known to be a global leader of self-integration through a yogic and spiritual practice. With a lifestyle based around yoga, astrology, and metaphysics, she is an infinite learner and observer of life. That's dope. That's beautiful. Part of her mission is to help you transition to a higher frequency of reality, self-alignment, multiple streams of income, and eco-conscious living.
That's
Yes,
right.
indeed.
This is funny.
So this
Well,
is
thank
Jamila,
you.
y'all.
Thank you.
Drop
That
her
was the
emoji,
best.
give her a wave, some hearts, all of that, because she deserves it.
That was the best introduction ever. I appreciate it. Thank you for having me here. And thank you just to the team, Mastermind.Yoga, this Mastermind.Yoga Summit, just for having me be a part of the one of 30 speakers, one of 30 Black wellness just leaders in social media right now. So to just be a part of that is just wow to me. So I want to say thank you guys for just even planning it. Like, I know the leader is Alicia. However, it takes a village. It takes a village. So everyone has to be praised. And yeah, I have to just say infinite gratitude as always. And yeah, I'm ready to get into it. I'm ready to,
Yeah, well, it's beautiful. It's amazing what can stem from a vision.
Right.
Alicia had a vision, and she's like,
Right.
I want to do this thing because we need this thing as a community. So I'm going to figure out how to make it happen, and here we are. So let's go ahead and get right to it. So I'm going to let you guys know that I had a conversation with her on the low. And so we've kind of already talked about some things.
Right.
But, as you know, I like to kind of start off discussions with the why, and it was a beautiful story that you told me in terms of your why, like what led you to yoga, how you discovered that, and, what about it made you choose this as a path for you.
So yeah, this, like, every time I am asked this question, what got me into yoga, I mean, you always remember that one thing that kind of pushed you to either get into a studio or turn on the YouTube channel. But for me, it's different. It's different than just that. I remember just being 16 years old, in a Catholic school, and all I remember thinking to myself is, I don't know, just something about what is being fed to me doesn't sit right on my spirit. It just doesn't resonate with me, and I want to know what my ancestors were doing. Hundreds of thousands of years ago. I know I come from somewhere. We have to have developed from something, right? What were they doing? So that was always my question, and that was always my motivation in life, or in terms of what it is that I chose to learn about. Was always about, how does it reflect in me, or how does it resonate with me, and how am I going to use this to improve my reality in whatever way. So you go on, you get into like the hidden colors, you find hidden history, right, of yourself. And you're brought right to Egypt or Kemet, and you see how everything apparently came from this great civilization. And so anyways, I started getting into learning about the history and the metaphysics of ourselves, and just the importance of tuning in, and what exactly is like, what's happening to me. I'm in this 9 to 5, I make great money, but I have all this anxiety. There's bills, there's this, like, is this life? Like, I know this isn't life. I know that this couldn't be it. So anyways, with all this stress, or all this dis-ease, we should say, it began to manifest in my body. not only was I having menstrual issues, but I also had this like intense pain in my back. So one day the advice that I got was, maybe you should stretch. And it's so funny because when someone says maybe you should stretch to a person who doesn't technically consciously stretch, you're like, well, how do I do that? So I turned on a YouTube video and I just found someone that, you know, whose voice I liked and who led a good, you know, flow. I just felt so great. I just felt so great after that. I was just like, wow, this is awesome. You know, I'm going to make it a point to come home every single day and stretch, you know. Then you start looking at yoga on Instagram and you see people doing what I thought at the time was head top, right? That's what you see people doing, and doing it like slow, challenging themselves. And me, like, I've always been pretty active. I was a cheerleader in high school. I played basketball. I did all types of different things. So I was always active, and I was always like, I can do that. So I start working that stuff into my stretches. And now I'm like, well, I need to start to work in at least 5 minutes of meditation, because I'm learning about brain waves and, you know, wow, this is, you know, I'm always consistently at a beta frequency brain waves. Like, how do I get it down to alpha, or sorry, how do I get it down to delta? You know, like, these are the types of things I'm now thinking about. And I was like, you know what, I need to go and learn from someone. So I Googled, you know, yoga studio in Brampton, and what actually came up was a teacher's training, which was taught by someone who's like really dear to my heart now, but Sandeep and his wife, Haley, they were teaching a teacher's training. And I was like, you know what, since I have the money, you know, I'm going to make this work. Every day after work, I started going there and just learning about the yoga philosophy was like the practicality of what I was already reading. You know, it was like, wow, you know, I read about, you know, exactly that, brainwave frequencies. Yeah. Now we're in class and I'm literally seeing the shifts within myself. And after class, I'm like radiating. Literally, that when they say, literally being able to experience, you know, what even like energy pathways are, and what does it feel like when they're blocked, and then what does it feel like when they're open, you know, and then how am I reacting to things? Bill collector calls, and I'm just kind of like, I'm not trying to deal with it right now. Yeah. And it was like off the shoulder. And I was just more focused on, wow, well, what can I learn? Where can I go? This person, they're not necessarily for me. That person, maybe I have something to learn there. You know, the awareness just expanded and my whole life changed. My whole entire life changed. You start looking at things differently. Spiritual awareness amps up, dreams amp up, experiences in your personal practice, when you turn them into rituals, amp up. Like, everything was, I felt like I was becoming myself, and I understood why I didn't feel like I belonged. You know, I understood why I didn't feel like I belonged, because I don't belong. I'm not supposed to belong. We're not supposed to belong. And in that, we belong. Yes, so indeed, just, honey. All of it was just, I don't know, it's just an experience, just getting into it. But that's kind of where I started. So the information was coming to me. I was learning about Thich Nhat Hanh. I was already in, you know, into all of that. But then yoga was like, wow, this is information, but just the practical aspects of it. And I just ran with it. Yeah, that's all of that is beautiful. My son is in here watching, and I literally have these conversations with him all the time about just staying centered around self. And, you know, it's not so much about trying to, you know, mold yourself into another space, you know, just get centered around yourself. And it's so interesting to me. This is why I love yoga. And I understand the lotus symbolism behind it, because once you unlock a thing within yourself with this practice, your life just continues to blossom and start to see new petals and new things about yourself. And you know, the bill collector example that you gave is really interesting, because you just start to notice that things aren't that deep anymore, you know. And
And so it's a beautiful thing. And I always start with the why because I want people to understand how inviting yoga is. You know, for me,
Mm-hmm.
I always thought you had to be of a certain build, certain athleticism, you know,
Mm-hmm.
to participate. I also thought that it was like a gang of money. It didn't qualify. I didn't qualify for it. Also, there were no yoga studios in my
Mm-hmm.
neighborhood and things of that nature. So, you know, it was something that I never thought I would qualify for. But just, you know, really quick, my journey to yoga just encompassed
Mm-hmm.
me again trying to find myself in a lot of ways, like
Exactly.
you were, and
Mm-hmm.
just feeling like, yeah, I hear what y'all are saying about these things, but just I don't really see myself in it, or I just, you know, a lot of things just didn't, you know, gel well in terms of some of the things that I've been learning, you know, especially somebody growing up in
Mm-hmm.
the South. And so I was just like, this just seems like there was something more. And, you know, I had the opportunity to move to Los Angeles, and, you know, I was by myself. My root system was back on the East Coast, and I'm here by myself, and I was just looking for friends. And so my coworkers was like, yeah, you should just do some yoga. Like everybody in LA does yoga, you'll be bound to find friends. Okay, whatever. So, you know, I go into this yoga studio, and I didn't realize it was going to be the starting point of me kind of returning to myself because,
Mm-hmm.
you know, there was something that was unlocked even in that first practice in terms of the mantra that she was sharing.
Right.
And it made me weep. And it was strange for
Oh.
me. I was like, what is that about? And so from there, I just kept coming. And, you know, like you
Mm-hmm.
said, you know, you continue to discipline yourself, or you
Mm-hmm.
ritualize it and make it a practice, you'll just start to notice more things about yourself and how you fit into the context of the world
Right.
that you're living in. So thank you for sharing
Exactly.
that story with everybody. So
Yeah, exactly.
you said in your bio, you
Mm-hmm.
mentioned, you know, that your intention is to help people to self integrate. So can you
Mm-hmm.
define for people out here what self integration is, and how does one begin to get to that place of self integration?
Self integration is like, again, a multi-dimensional. I think when we speak about things, we have to be very real about ourselves. Like, self integration is a lot of things. Self integration can be eating to support your body. Self integration can be understanding that there are different aspects of you that turn on at different times, right? Self integration can be understanding yourself and how you integrate with others. Self integration is so many things. But how I help people do that is through the awareness of their body, because there's no such thing as a secret or a lie, no matter how much we try to kind of push things mentally down in our, like within our shadow sides. They show themselves through your body. Your body is a reflection of that. And I think that we need to understand that the intelligence of your body is much more than you think. The body has, I mean, if you think about it, you know, your liver does something very different than the heart. It means that it's been coded to do something very different than the heart. They've been coded this way. That means that the intelligence behind that coding is telling it to do this, telling this thing to do things very, very different. So if we were to be able to connect with that, so now we are having internal conversations with parts of ourselves, you will begin to learn through meditation that you can speak with this intelligence, and the intelligence can speak to you. So that's one way. And that's like on a very, very deep, I want to say on a very deep level. People don't really think about themselves on from this perspective. Self-integration is also understanding your mind and why you make the decisions that you make. A lot of us think we are, we think that we're kind of in control of our thoughts, but we don't realize that we consistently fall into the same loops, into the same cycles that reflect in your reality. That's another thing. Self-integration can be understanding or actually being in full control of what is happening in your reality just from having knowledge of self.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so one way I do it is through the body. Let me rewind. How I actually do things is I kind of start with my first superpower, if you will. I've always just been someone who people are attracted to and they want to talk to. And when I say talk, it's not about superficial things. I don't, and naturally, I just get straight into the meat and potatoes of who you are, what I see behind the eyes. Like, that's what I do. I speak to the truth of things. And so naturally we get into the emotional aspects, and how can we clear that? That's like my first, like, unconscious thing when I'm speaking with a person. So naturally people come to me, you know, they feel welcome, they feel like they can share, they're not being judged, and now we can get to what's happening psychologically. So from there, once we understand where your mind is going, then we can understand how energy is flowing from mind through the body. And I like to walk people after, let's say, using astrology. I use astrology to get into the psyche of people. But after astrology, let's get into some movements now. Movements that you can focus your mind into these areas and expand your awareness into these spaces. You know, for instance, if someone like myself, who once upon a time did have menstrual issues, if someone who is having that, well, how often do we spend time shifting your awareness to your womb? You know, how often do you spend time, you know, just doing simple yoga? It's not what you think. Yes, you see people on their heads. Yes, we see people balancing on their toes, but it's not about that. It's about the practices that help you to shift your awareness. And in doing so, without you even knowing it, this is why I love yoga, because it has you doing all this stuff without knowing.
Yeah.
In doing so, you are speaking with your womb. Now you're learning it. You're understanding what it means. You know, so much people always are looking for someone else to give them direction, but sometimes you just need to lay there and see how you need to move and what feels good. Do you know what I mean? And what maybe is a little tense, but you need to relax into and surrender to, because all of that is a reflection to how you respond to any and everything in your life. So really and truly, your self-integration is learning that your body is a machine. And how have I been in this body for some odd years, but I don't even know how this machine works, but I know how the phone that has been made to replica this works better.
Yeah.
You know, like, that's that's self-integration. Just by conversation, you can shift a person, and they're on a whole nother frequency, and they'll never see life the way they did before that combo. So that's why even if, let's say, I haven't taught a class, but I'm doing hella soul guidance readings, I'm still doing yoga remotely.
That part, like what you just said, like, yoga isn't just the poses on the mat. It's not even just meditation or a thing. Like you said, what you just mentioned is yoga in itself. And, you know, I get excited about that because that unlocks so much for me in terms of the box that we tend to put ourselves in terms of things that we can and cannot do, or what things may or may not mean. Because I had a very, you know, focused perception of what yoga is. But then when I went through the trainings and I started to study myself, and what you're talking about is like getting on the mat and listening to yourself, listening to what your body, like, is signaling for a reason. What does that mean? And when you start to get to those points, you start to understand just how fluid yoga is in the sea of life. You know, walking my dog is dharma, and that's yoga. I'm a dog mom, so it is my duty and my responsibility to take care of my dog. And I have a 9-to-5 job, you know. And a lot of people, this for me, I'd had to do a lot of work on flipping perspective, you know. And when you go to your job and you're like, oh my God, I have to go to work, this sucks, blah blah blah. But, you know, you are still practicing yoga, practicing your dharma by serving, because that's what it all boils down to, is service.
And so I think a lot of times we put a lot of labels on things in like just in our way of trying to understand and define things. And we end up boxing these things that really don't need to be boxed in. So I love talking to you because you just break it down to rudimentary fundamentals like, yo, yoga is life, you know?
I want to even give you a perspective because, yeah, it's okay. I'm going to work for service, be of service. But what about yoga with your future self? Let's say your future self is like, nah, you need to work here because there's some stuff you got to learn before you can get there. And I kid you not, I'm sorry, because you reminded me, I'm sorry to cut you, but you reminded me, working for President's Choice MasterCard, 19 years old, actually, like, was I the supervisor yet? I'm not too sure, but just being in a leadership position, being there, not understanding why I'm here, but excelling at customer service, like superpower. Remember talking to people and using my voice, that yoga voice I had that I didn't know I had, just doing all of that and just seeing how like, wow, customer service, I'm actually great at that. To now have my own business and every day is customer service. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's just something that you have to understand. You're great at this, whether you like it or not. This is part of who you're supposed to be. And this is simply just sharpening that sword a bit so you know how to use it in the future. And so many times was I like, wow, this spreadsheet that I'm working on, like, this is some serious stuff. Let me save this just in case. And then 5 years later, what am I doing? Dealing with logistics.
Yes, honey.
Do you know what I mean? So much yoga is also being able to go into self, and because time doesn't exist, so you can connect with any essence of yours, past, present, or future, and be able to ask yourself, like, what's my next step to eventually physically get to where you are now, and to use yourself in that way. But yeah, sorry, that's just what
I love
totally
this kind of conversation. I probably can hold you hostage for a really long time and talk about a whole bunch of stuff, but we're not going to do that.
Yeah.
So when we did have a pre-conversation, you remember you told me that story about the note that someone had wrote you, and I was like, please.
Oh yeah.
So you can share that story, because I thought it was such an impactful story, and I would love for people on this thread to hear it.
So just as I was talking, because I knew it was coming, but just as I was talking, you see, when you decide that you're going to take a certain path, oh yeah, there are challenges. Yes, there are beautiful blessings that come with it, with the self-knowing and the alignment and saying like, listen, I'm being called to go here, setting your intentions and all of that. But there's always going to be a point that's going to say, okay, you done learned this and now you're here. Are you going to use what you applied? So in saying that, 2017, just needed some clarity in life. So I went to stay with a friend on an island. Now, maybe I'm too much of a yogi because in my mind, everything is union. I'm a child of this earth. There is no such thing as having to check in here and there and all of that. But I did miss a step when I went to Tortola and came back to the US. I didn't sign back in. But I was called to go to Tortola. I was called to, do a meditation. There was a rainbow, for goodness sakes. It was just like the most perfect day for me to say, universe, this is what I'm struggling with, and I need you to take the wheel and take me to where I'm supposed to be. So it was intense. But I left my shit there. Let's just put it that way. And so I didn't even think like, oh yeah, you got to sign back into the, because we just got on a regular old boat that someone had, and we went from one place to another and we came back. Anyways, long story short, when trying to go back, I don't know, they weren't having it. They they were like, nope, you got to go back home to Toronto. But they were saying it was supposed to only be 3 days, and it turned out that I was in a detention center for 3 weeks, which was something that I never, ever, 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 ever thought in my life would ever happen. But I will tell you a story after this. But it tested me. It was a serious test to be in this space, know who I am, yoga teacher. I was already traveling, doing yoga workshops, you know, certified, all of that. And so here I am, like sharing bunk beds and everything, people. Okay. Challenge. But I had to trust. It was even during, there was like a solar eclipse happening that summer in August. So it was another eclipse season. It was another great shift. So anyways, I'm there, you know, there's people there who've been there for like 2 years, just in the in-between, fake grass, in walls. We were in like in Fort Lauderdale, wherever. But we're in a detention center. It's basically run like a jail. And, you know, what do? I'm the yoga teacher. So, orange is the new black. Wait till I tell you. Wait till I tell you. There's another story after this. But anyways, so we're there, and, you know, I'm the yoga teacher. So when it's time for recess or whatever you want to call it, I'm doing yoga because I'm like, I'm under the sun. I need to relax my mind. I'm trying to set my intentions. I'm trying to say like, listen, whatever it is that I need to learn, let me learn it. I'm trying to say like, listen, I'm seeing myself out of here. I'm free. This is no longer an issue. All of that, all of the intention settings was being done. But because other girls were there who did yoga as well, a lot of people from like Venezuela and Mexico, a whole lot from Mexico, and a lot from different African countries as well. But nonetheless, we would do some yoga. And it happened for a couple of days until management was like, no, they don't want us to be doing yoga outside because the other people on the other side can see, which are all guys and whatever. So I ended up doing it inside. Did I want to wake up at, first of all, we had no choice but to wake up at 6 a.m. But after 6:30, did I want to go and teach people yoga? No, I did not. I wanted to lay in my bunk and be sad about the situation. I wanted to lay in the bunk and close my eyes and go back and dream. Because every single time I closed my eyes, my dream would be so like intense. There were messages coming through. So, but I did it anyway. I did it anyway because that's who I am. That's what I was called to do. People wanted it. It wasn't even, I wasn't really doing it for myself. I was doing it because, you know, there's other girls in here that don't know metaphysics. They don't know the power of their mind, and they're just sitting here while the government or while this private company makes $150 a day off of them just being here for no reason. So just seeing that and seeing the perspective and like the relationships and like the love from nowhere that show up, and just, yeah, like just, you know, just all of it, just was a magical experience. It was traumatic as hell, but I would never take that back at all because it showed me so much. It showed me my power. It showed me how you can impact a person's life. And yes, so you wanted me to read the thing. Hold on, let me get it.
Yes, I do want you to read the thing. It showed you your dharma, your purpose too. Like, like had you not been there with all of those women, you know, they might not have gotten the release that you gave them.
Okay. Yeah, how you can just impact a person's life who didn't even realize, because yoga's an experience. This is why everyone has to just do it. No one can tell you. You have to just do it. So anyways, there was this other girl there. She was from somewhere in Asia. I can't remember where. But anyway, she was there, and one day, you know, because she made something for me. It was, we're in a detention center. All you have is paper and soft things, right? So she made this thing. It's just this little note. You can't really see it too well, that she wrote on, and, you know, just something. but it says, Jamila, I love your yoga session. It brings me great energy, clear mind, and positive thought. Thank you very much for everything. And her name is Gift. That was her name, and she signed it Gift. That's her name, and I can't even find her to this day. But the thing is we ended up leaving at the same time randomly after she had been there for months, and just from doing the yoga, and I feel putting the positive intention towards what her want was, which was to just go back home and be with her sister. Just putting that positive intention towards it helped her to like get out. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it wasn't even just her. Like there's this other queen, there's a girl there and her husband, which she couldn't even see, who was there, you know, who I told her, like, listen, you're not going to be in here at the 2-year mark, because she was already there for a year and like 6 months away from her children. Just the most toughest things. You see people having a box and that's their life in this box, you know, which is just the stuff that you can buy at commissary. It just was a serious eye awakening movie. Okay.
How old were you at that time?
This was only 3 years ago.
Wow.
3 years ago. But like I says, when you're in alignment with self, sometimes you do go through some things and you do have to stay grounded. Yeah. Yes, it was tough in the moment because I had no idea what was going on or why, but now I see why. After that, do you know how many clients came to me who had trauma from being in jails? How many men would tell me about their experience in jail? And to be honest, to say that I can relate to that, and I know the message that needs to be relayed authentically, or to tell people about, listen, this is a tough time, but the importance of meditation, and just here's all it is that you need to do, or, you know, that dream you had, you know, where, let me even to say this, I even had a dream while I was in there, and you can see all the crazy energies just in the dream world that was existing in that space. And I just remember thinking, I got to get to the front door. And I would get to the front door and step outside. But my own spirit in the dream was like, I can't do it, because then I'll be on the run and then I'll have issues, and I would have never dealt with this situation. I would have never experienced what I needed to experience. I would have never learned what I needed to learn. And in the dream, turning around, walking back up the stairs and sitting down on the bed, like stuff like that, it's you speaking to yourself.
Oh, yep.
You know? And that's yoga. It's even in situations where I was dreaming that I was looking for the management, the person who I saw the very first time I was being processed in, you know, looking for that person and telling him, you need to send me home because I'm Canadian citizen. You have me here 3 weeks too long. Like, what's going on here? And that in the dream, I remember having a dream and I saw my ancestors. There's 2 women. They both had locks. And they were like, you'll be home by the end of this weekend. And it was a Tuesday. And I was like, how is this going to happen? Mm-hmm. Next thing you know, hurricane. They're trying to send everybody from Florida to Texas. I was like, send who where? So I had to say, I was like, that dream that was telling me that what I needed to do is exactly what I did. And one of the guards, or one of the girls there, she hooked it up in passing. I said my 2 cents, and by that Friday, I was home with my parents. So, like, if I wasn't doing yoga, if I wasn't keeping a clear mind, if I was saying, woe is me, woe is me, woe is me, if I was crying myself to sleep, if I wasn't putting positive intentions and planting positive seeds, even when I didn't have a basket full of seeds myself, I don't think that things would have turned out in the way they were. And in a way, I see that as a test, because I had been learning all this stuff. I was learning about myself. My awareness had amped, and I had asked for a change. I had asked to be brought to a higher frequency reality, literally, because I was like, no, this reality I'm experiencing has me sad. It has me confused, has me feeling like I'm worthless. It has me not focused on what I'm here to do, which is help people as I help myself. So that was what I wanted. I was like, wow, I have the abundance of high frequency right now while I was in Tortola, and I set my intention. I made use of those elements. 4 elements was right there with me. At one time, I was like, nah, I got to use this for something. I can't just enjoy it and that's it. And so that's what I did. But just real quick, that whole orange is the new black thing, 7 years ago when I was watching that foolishness, I was watching Orange is the New Black. I even took it to another length and started watching Wentworth, which was worse.
Wow.
And just one thing, at one point, the way that show had me tearing up, connecting with the characters, wondering what would I do if I was there, living it, having dreams about these shows, binge watching it. One day I shut it off and I was like, nah, I don't want to watch this no more because I don't want to have this experience. That's what I said to myself. So sometimes you have to be careful about what you do yoga and merge with, what things that you do put into your mind, what experience, because your mind doesn't know what's real or what's fake.
That's it.
Do you know, especially if you're connecting emotion to it. And that's the type of person I am. You give me a movie where 2 friends are having a happy moment and I might shed a tear. So certain things I know what to allow in my space and what not to. So that's another thing that I learned and allowed me to see how energy flows in life. So when you know that and you experience it and you're aware of it, then you can start to shift that cycle. Do you know what I mean? You can start to make conscious choices on how you want your reality to be set so you know where your mind needs to be.
That's beautiful. My mind just spirals around these conversations because when we talk about like trauma, for instance, too, and just circling it back around to our community, you know, we experience trauma. We come into the world, I feel like an embedded trauma chip from our ancestors, you know, because, you know, I believe that epigenetics is real. There is definitely passed down trauma. And we don't necessarily have the mechanism or the resources to come to a place of yoga. I found yoga moving 3,000 miles away from where I was born and, you know, barely knew that it existed. Again, I went to the studio looking for happy hour friends. And so I feel like there's such a missed opportunity within our community, especially since a lot of these practices I feel are ingrained, because when we start to practice, when we start to get into yoga, it feels so natural.
It's like a memory. Yeah.
Yes, it's like it's already there. So how can we as practitioners and, you know, healers of color, how do we then start to teach other people who might be further down the path and they're not even asking for that invitation like you did? You said you asked for that opportunity to. Some people might not even be there yet in their mind where they need to, they know they need to ask that question. So how can we start to guide our community as a whole towards yoga and seeing it as a source of reflection and empowerment and healing?
I want to say nature. I don't know. I feel like that's my answer. It's the first way is nature. It's the first way because like you can't tell somebody to sit still who doesn't know what that means or doesn't know what that's like. And I think of my little brother who's 8. He's a lot. He's a lot of work. He's just always in control. He's got a lot of energy and it's super fire. And he's also a Capricorn, so he can be a little rude. So like when I think of him, the only way to calm him down is to bring him into nature and to say like the elements, look, that's water. How does that make you feel? Do you know what I mean? I feel like nature is how, bring communities there and let them connect, it's easier to guide them into stillness or into that peace. Do you know what I mean? That yoga can provide. And then I feel like that's where their awareness of body kicks in, because when you're standing by on a beach, you already just want to stretch your arms up. You don't even have to be a yogi. You just want to like release. That's what subconsciously you're doing. So I think the best in having studios or teaching at a studio or having my own studio. I don't know why. I was like, listen, yoga workshop at this park, show up. Mm-hmm. That was it. And it was lovely because it was like, let's tune into the sun. Mm-hmm. Now let's connect with, okay, this might be like the sun, whatever move, but let's understand what the sun is. The sun's not just giving you light. Or how about let's understand what light is? Yeah. Light is information, mm-hmm. right? And so through your melanin, you're receiving that information. So essentially, like this is why I like to add that information into my practices or when I'm teaching, because then people can understand things differently and the intention amps. You know, if you see someone who's just doing this, like Tai Chi, we've all seen that one person doing Tai Chi in the park and we were like,
what is happening?
What are they doing? You know, but until you learn like, oh wow, like this movement means this. Mm-hmm. So you can tap into the frequency of that movement, you know? But I think the easiest way is to bring people and return them back to nature, to be very honest. I know it's like not, I mean, it's connected, but it's so far away from the typical like yoga and yoga studio. Mm-hmm. I just think that nature helps them to calm the mind, to allow them to receive and actually experience the yoga itself.
Yeah, I believe that, especially for, you know, people of color too. You know?
Yeah, exactly.
Let's see, we had a question come in. I'm gonna try. This is from Yogi John. Shout out to the Mastermind.Yoga Summit team.
Hey.
So his question is, would you rather be aware of potential challenges or wait until you're experiencing them? Did those shoes actually give you some tips? I can't see the rest of the question, but I guess you could take the first part of it. And Yogi John, if you want to put it back in the chat, because I can't pull up the whole question. They cut off.
So would I rather be aware of potential challenges?
Mm-hmm. I guess, would you rather, if I'm interpreting it as if maybe if you had That's So Raven type powers and you could perceive mm-hmm. danger before it's coming and mm-hmm. react to it, or would you, you know, be of the threat of, you know, I'd rather experience what this challenges has to offer. Do those shows give you tips on what to do in those scenarios? This is Yogi John.
Oh, did those shows give you tips of what to do in those scenarios? Yeah. Okay. So would I rather, I want to say a little of both, because some challenges you wouldn't necessarily choose, though they could actually really build your character in ways that you need. So sometimes I don't want to know that type of stuff if I just have to deal with it. Otherwise, yeah, I feel like most times you'd kind of know that there might be something on the other side. You know, you always know. It's just like people say, like with relationships, you know, you always kind of know if there's something.
Yeah, you have that instinct. Yeah.
You know, like just, you always have that instinct naturally. So, I mean, I can appreciate that, of mm-hmm. course. But did those shows give me tips on what to do in those scenarios? Tips on what to do in those scenarios. What I want to say is it made me a little less afraid because I understood that these were just people here. You know what I mean? There were just people here. Tips on what to do. No, you can't. I mean, maybe tips on how to just respect people, but you don't need to really see those shows to know that. And you also don't learn until you're in the experience at the end of the day. at the end of the day, you do not learn till you're there. So even in just wondering, wow, I wonder what I would do in that experience, like you just learn it in the experience. I don't know how else to explain it to you. But I want to say, I reckon, because I watch a lot of, I don't know why I was going to say that, but I do think that there are lots of shows though that do prepare you for some things and how to respond. I think maybe that's why that's why I was like, listen, I'm gonna speak to these guards. First of all, I don't know why I call them guards, but the employees there, they knew I didn't belong there. The one girl looked at me one time, I'll never forget, and she was like, "You don't belong here." And I was like, "You right, I don't," but I'm here, you know? So if you can just see like, okay, these are regular people. If I need something, all I got to do is respect what they're asking for. But when it's time to cash in, you'll cash in, right? So things like when they want you to line up and be quiet and not be, outrageous, like some girl, that's just people's personalities. Yeah. Then you get to see how you're in high school again, weirdly. Yeah. You know what I mean? It's just people's personalities. But if you know how to do what you're supposed to do, so that way when you need the help, that person can respect that you respected them. That's one thing I'd say that, it taught me. But I feel like I always live by my own principles anyway. But yeah, there definitely are shows that can prepare you to not have any fear. Do you know what I mean? Don't have fear. You're the yoga teacher. There's always going to be somebody that holds a position. There was one girl in there who did beauty. She taught me how to thread my upper lip and my eyebrows with a freaking thread myself. That's the type of stuff I learned there, was how to take the thread out of your clothes. Do you know what I mean? Everyone has their thing that they do, and I just was the yogi. Mm-hmm. So that's what I did, and I wasn't afraid to do that. Even when they were like, oh, they don't like when you do that, I was like, it's yoga. Like, these people up in here need to get some new neural pathways going, because the food they're eating is bullshit and they're not getting any sun. Do you know what I mean? Like, so I was like, listen, if we have to do yoga in the room, we'll do it. Mm-hmm. And so that's what I did. But I'm a bit of a rebel though. Like, I'm a bit of a rebel.
I like it. I'm all about it. Okay. I can probably sit and talk to you for like 5 hours straight. No doubt. But what we're going to do is segue a little bit and talk about just a little bit about your business. So, you sell yogi mats and things. And so how you got to that space of wanting to, provide.
Get into yoga mats. Well, so I was already teaching yoga. But again, like, I just like to be different. Mm-hmm. So I'm like, listen, there's lots of yoga teachers out here. I don't expect to be number one or whatever. And also too, it was like, if you want to be a top yoga teacher at that time, you got to be teaching 50 classes a week. I was like, no, I'm out here trying to think about how can I work smart and not hard. So anyways, I started doing, I was doing readings. I started doing readings just before that whole event happened. And then right after, that's what I was doing. Soul guidance readings. And as I was healing myself, but also, helping others to do the same, my apartment, wherever I was, had to be a direct reflection of what I was trying to heal within myself. I was going through so many things, like heartbreak, this trauma, that trauma, so many different things, figuring out who I am, now I'm back home, all this stuff that just happened, it was a lot. So for me, I was like, okay, I'm royalty. I had to get my, Kemet, my Egyptian goddesses up over here. Like, got to remember like this, like I just, my whole apartment was just like a reflection of what I needed to keep within myself and how I was going to heal. So when I thought to myself, I'm a Leo. When I thought to myself, well, I want to do something. Let me do yoga mats. You know, why not yoga mats? And then hemp came up. And then I was like, wait, I'm not seeing any hemp yoga mats out there, not ones like this. So then I was like, well, I'm not just going to do a regular hemp yoga mat. Like, I need something that is going to have a powerful symbol on it. Because when I'm doing yoga and when the people I know are doing yoga, they're doing yoga for serious self-integration. They're doing yoga to connect with subconscious, to manifest.
Yeah.
They're doing yoga for so many different things. So whatever's on the mat is important, you know? So I was like, you know what? That's what it is. You know, I need to have a sigil or an emblem on the mat with a specific intention, to shift the person's mind or the client's mind to get on the mat, to align themselves, so that way they can do whatever it is that they're trying to do, whether it's healing or, you know, take some risks in life, adventure for self-growth, or, you know, prosperity in your manifestations, whatever it is, you know, it empowers you to get into that role. So I was like, okay, you know, going into this thing with an intention. The first batch of mats came in and they were great, but it wasn't the best, you know. Wasted a hell of a lot of money. Didn't know, you know, just I was like, okay, back to the drawing board, do it again. Things go great, you know. Launched again in June. Things went amazing. Like, to say that I made even my first 10,000 like this summer on Shopify, like, you know, the first year it didn't go so well. I didn't make a damn thing. I probably sold about 3 of them. But this year it was like, when you take your time and you come correct, the universe will definitely provide. You know, so it was like, okay, I have this feeling within myself that somehow I'm going to help tens of thousands of people. I don't think I'm going to do it one reading at a time. I don't think I'm going to do it one yoga class at a time, but there's going to be another way that I do it, and that's going to be unique for me. And so, you know, I'm still running with it, and I will keep going.
I know,
but
that's right. That's beautiful.
That's just one of many.
And I'm definitely in the market for a new yoga mat. So I definitely will be hitting you up for one as well.
Oh.
But that's a good kind of segue into the summit, because you're a speaker at this year's Mastermind.Yoga Summit. It started today. And there was an allotment of amazing, insightful conversations. And it is a 3-day event for those of you guys who are catching up on the thread. But it's interesting how, what I like about you is that you do every single solitary thing with intention. You know, you don't just do a thing. You know, you set an intention and then you do a thing. There might be some trial and error once you get to that point of implementation or whatever, but you like go into whatever it is you're going to do consciously. And I feel like it's important too, because you spoke about, like, you know, traditionally, and that's how I kind of came into the yoga space after yoga teacher training. My understanding was you teach in multiple studios, multiple classes, and that's the extent of a yoga, you know, teacher's profession. And so it wasn't until we got into this like quarantine space where I got to see like yogis all over the place doing all of these different things. And I'm like, whoa, like, you know, it's so many different things that you can do in this space outside of teaching. And so your topic for this year is profit by affiliation. Yeah. So maybe explain to, you know, the group in here what that topic is about and what one can expect to learn or hear. Yeah.
So, I mean, the topic is about the affiliate program or the ambassador program that I'm offering. It's still small. It's a good team, but it's growing. But what's my experience with it? Why I got into it. So you'll learn why I got into it. What are some things I've learned along the way? What are some tips and tricks for success? And yeah, you know, honestly, like, I really just want you guys to go and watch. It's actually a pretty, like, I think there's 2 parts, a free part and then the paid part.
Yeah.
But yeah, like, I just get into my experience even on developing that and where I am now. So if there's like a summit 2021, like, you'll definitely see you know, experience as my growth. But since I'm still new, you'll just learn like where I am now, how I made that choice. You know, what are some things that you should look into, who can do it. And one thing that I need to tell, like one thing that I will say is I talk about anybody can have an affiliate program. It doesn't matter what it is that you do. It doesn't matter what it is that you do. Just source out the right affiliate platform that will support what it is that you're trying to do. Or if you can just even think in your mind, like, you know, if I'm trying to sell a thing, whether it's a product or a service, you know, how can I make it in a way where if somebody refers someone to me, that they get a piece of that? Just, you know, and find a platform where you can set that up yourself. And we all start from somewhere. For me, I started with Shopify, finding a random platform and having to learn that platform and understand, how do I even build this thing? And it didn't happen in a day. It takes time. But regardless, like if you go, I want to say the link is actually in my bio. If you guys go to Yogini Maat, my page, and click the link in my bio, you'll see the link. But go and check it out. There's a free version. She literally, Alicia and the team, I was just listening to it, like what you guys offer. It's not even just the video. If you want the audio, you got the audio. If you want notes, you got notes. Like there's so many things there. And that's just one of 30 conversations.
Yes, indeed.
You know, like one of 30 conversations. So whether you're in yoga or not, if you're simply just an entrepreneur, check it out, because you'll still learn from it, you know, and really and truly everything is just about creativity. Just like how you said COVID hit and everyone was like, damn, like, what do I do? Like, I have this information, I got the moves, but what can I do? Like, I only have this. You know, I'm looking on Instagram and everyone has that, but I don't have that. I only have this. Well, alchemy.
Yeah.
Make it work.
Make it work, honey. Make it work. And, you know, the summit and just the integration of all of this people and information is so beautiful to me, especially for our community, is because we usually don't have a repository of insights and information or collective of things to reference to kind of better ourselves, you know, or to grow ourselves or our businesses. You know, a lot of things we don't even know what they mean. I'm not going to lie, you know, because I have been working in a corporate space since 2003. And so things like, you know, profit by affiliation and those kind of things are like new models for me, like brand spanking new. And so there's just this kind of, I feel like this dark hole where information lives that we don't necessarily know how to get to or aren't really necessarily privy to. So I love this summit, and I love the repository of information that, you know, she's creating, because it's a beautiful reference point that we could use to kickstart our situations, even if we're not in the wellness space. You know, there's a lot of good information and resources and tools that one can benefit from to help, you know.
Exactly.
So, I'm sorry, my phone. Text. So it's 6:30. I promised my son, who I'm holding hostage in the room, that I'd be done pretty fast. He just turned 19 and he's a hungry man. He likes to eat everything, and this is
19. Oh, I can just imagine. 19, like,
yes.
I was just saying to you, like, what do you mean 19? Like, I thought you were like 25.
Hey, I'll be that. Yeah, but yeah. So, in closing, like, just from I like to capture and ask people this, because again, I feel like yoga is so amazing, and I just want it to be so accessible to people that might be unbeknownst to the practice and what it can offer. So if I'm just like a regular person on the street that, you know, I need healing, or, you know, obviously I need things, and I'm at a thought process in my mind where I know I need stuff, I know I need help, I need healing, but I don't necessarily know what that thing is that could get me to it. And I meet you, right? How would you explain, how would you define what you do and what you offer, even if you don't use the term yoga itself? how would you define what that offering is and what it could do for me as a person who needs healing?
Oh yeah, I'm a spiritual life coach and yoga teacher. That's what I am. But like that's like titles. That's like if you want to put a title to it, to be honest. But that's kind of, I feel like it talks to like spiritual life coach. Now we're getting into you, your energy aspects of self, and like how they manifest themselves into your physical yoga teacher. So that's basically what I say. So if someone is suffering with ailments or anything like that, I'll definitely, get into the yoga teacher, but I don't know how to turn off that spiritual life coach aspect of me either. So yeah, that's, and speaking life into people, facts.
Yeah. That's beautiful. Well, I thank you so much for the time and the conversation. I am legit going to stay connected with you because I feel like there's so many different conversations we could have. Oh, one more thing. We know it's full moon tonight. So how would you advise people maybe ways that they can manifest this moon energy, this full moon energy?
Yeah, full moon energy. Okay, so for one, like my candle's been sitting over there dressed and ready to go for like a good meditation, like nice stretch and meditation. But like the average, play some music, play some jazz. Now, I'm not talking about like WAP. Don't play that. Don't play that. But like find at least some music with either no words that just takes you. And like if you flow, if you move with it, move with it. Set a bath. If all you have is Epsom salt, that's okay. Set the bath. Light a candle. Like just do something that helps you relax. That's it. That's all I'm asking. Or that's all that the energy is asking. Because lunar eclipse energy itself is just all about shifts and changes. And when people think changes, they always think, oh, what new is happening in what's going to come next in life? But we don't recognize as above, so below. The law of correspondence, like there's also a shift happening within you, and it's important to be able to relax, to allow that energy to be released and then energy to be received, So I would say set a bath, maybe drink some tea this evening, play some music, put the phone down for 5 minutes, write out what you would like to manifest, even for 2021, like write out what are some of the things that you want to let go of. Just go look at the moon. Exactly. Just go look at the moon. Ask yourself, how is it making you feel looking at that moon? How does that make you feel? What comes to mind? Why does it come to mind? Is it something, just spend some time with self, even if it's just 15 minutes.
Thank you so much. You're so amazing. I swear. It was really beautiful.
Thank you.
Y'all make sure she is, again, one of the speakers at the Mastermind.Yoga Summit. And she is a wealth of knowledge, a beautiful resource. So, make sure you check her out. The link is in her bio, as she said. And also, she is one of 30 speakers. So know that there are 29 other amazing human beings just like her that have decided that they're going to share what they have learned in this space in terms of their successes. So I thank you again so much.
Thank you.
Time. You have amazing energy, amazing dialogue, and I love that you like to geek out on philosophy and things like that too, because I do, and so I definitely would love to keep connected and continue to having dialogues with you for sure.
Of course, Queen.